What is 5G? Developed in 2019, 5G is associated with the latest version of wireless communications being made available for broad public use, explains Christopher Collins, PhD, a professor of radiology at New York University. When you use your phone to communicate with other devices, cellular data is sent through radio frequencies, RFs. Calls and other functions are connected through a series of base stations called cells that cover certain geographic regions according to the Federal Communications Commission, FCC. The radio frequency 5G uses is higher than the previous iterations of wireless communication, including 4G and 3G, says Henk de Veter, PhD, an assistant professor of radiology and biomedical imaging at Yale School of Medicine in New Haven, Connecticut. That's what sets it apart. But otherwise, he says the technology works the same way, by producing electromagnetic waves for information to be sent and received. 5G, EMF waves, and radiation. Electromagnetic fields, EMFs, are invisible areas of energy caused by electromagnetic radiation being emitted. There are ionizing and non-ionizing EMFs. The latter describes low-level radiation or emission of energy through space and objects. Sources that transmit these waves include phones, computers, Bluetooth devices, power lines, and even microwaves. Meanwhile, ionizing EMFs have much higher radiation, with sources including sunlight and X-rays. The difference between the two matters greatly in terms of health and safety, notes Collins. In human tissues, ionizing radiation at high enough doses is associated with an increase in cancer, most often skin cancer from the ultraviolet energy in sunlight. 5G operates on two frequencies, the highest of which ranges from 24.25 GHz to 52.6 GHz, notes Frontiers in Public Health. It is at those frequencies that the big gains in speed of data transfer are really expected, says Collins. But he adds that the frequency in which electromagnetic radiation starts to ionize and becomes dangerous is about 3 million GHz, nowhere close to 5G. While ionizing radiation at high doses may be linked to cancer, both experts say non-ionizing radiation has currently not been proven to do the same. Additionally, the Food and Drug Administration's team of medical doctors, scientists, and researchers who study radio frequency reports the current limit on radio frequency energy set by the FCC remains acceptable for protecting public health. And research published in the Journal of Exposure Science and Environmental Epidemiology found no confirmed evidence that low-level RF fields above 6 GHz, such as those used by the 5G network, are hazardous to human health. Still, you may have heard, electromagnetic fields can cause tissue heating, where the skin absorbs electromagnetic energy and elevates body temperature. That much is true. Electromagnetic radiation in the communications bands is absorbed by tissues in the form of heat, Collins says, but emphasizes that this occurs at such a low level it may not impact health. The electromagnetic radiation is limited to levels that could not cause more than a small fraction of 1 degree Celsius increase in tissues, he explains. To put it in perspective, when you walk outside on a sunny day, you can feel your skin heat up a few degrees very rapidly, and over the course of one day, your core body temperature can vary by about 1 degree Celsius. Health concerns over 5G. That said, some experts voice concerns. In 2017, doctors and scientists launched a petition to stop the 5G rollout in the EU, citing cancer risks. One worry is that since 5G is so new, there hasn't been time to properly test whether it's safe. There's also a lack of scientific analyses on the potential impacts of densely concentrated areas of 5G in populated cities or on chronic 5G exposure, some experts say 5G's potential impact on more people also means more diversity, and certain genes play a role in radiation sensitivity, experts say. One 2021 study, for example, notes genetic effects of EMF depend on factors such as frequency, intensity, cell type, and exposure duration, and the types of gene expression affected are consistent with findings that EMF causes genetic damages. Additionally, many of the government-approved rules on RF were established in the late 1990s and based on limited research. Scientists now don't think the issue is so clear, and some aren't staying quiet. To date, more than 3,500 physicians across preventive and environmental medicine, toxicology, and other specialties have united against 5G, citing main associated risks of non-ionizing radiation. According to peer-reviewed scientific literature, including cancer, cellular stress, genetic damage, reproductive changes and deficits, and neurological disorders. Action must be taken now to reduce human exposure to non-ionizing radiation to as low as can be achievable, including a moratorium on the introduction of 5G, says Anthony B. Miller, MD, Professor Emeritus at the Dalla Lana School of Public Health of the University of Toronto, in a 2020 statement from the Physicians' Health Initiative for Radiation and Environment and the British Society for Ecological Medicine. The National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, NIEHS, also notes that in the 1990s, some research found a possible link between EMF field strength and an increased risk of childhood leukemia, but the association was weak. Now, though, the organization notes, in the age of cellular telephones, wireless routers, and the Internet of Things, all of which use EMF, concerns persist about possible connections between EMF and adverse health effects. NIEHS acknowledges additional research is needed and recommends continued education on practical ways to reduce exposures to EMFs. And as more is learned about 5G, more peer-reviewed studies and data published in various medical journals point